Hi, everybody. I read Age of Opportunity by Lawrence Steinberg. So, this is just a little bit about what I read and how it applies to me and my school and what I do. As we read in Module 3, new research shows evidence of increased plasticity during adolescence. That means that the brain is being molded at this time, sort of like plastic, and this process increases brain efficiency by pruning and solidifying the connections. During adolescence, we see changes specifically in the reward centers, relationship centers, and regulation centers. So, according to Lawrence Steinberg, the discovery that adolescence is a time of heightened brain plasticity, which he compares to the first years of life, should radically transform our vision of the period. And it did actually really affect my image of the specific unit that I teach, my school's discipline policy and procedures, and just getting a better understanding of the importance of building positive relationships. So, first of all, I teach a marketing and entrepreneurship unit, and I learned that the brain science really supports the unit I teach. Steinberg says tenacity is more important than talent, and nothing could be truer of an entrepreneurship unit. What I teach is a Shark Tank marketing and entrepreneurship competition. Teams of 5 to 6 students ideate, create, promote, and pitch innovative products to a parent panel. The parents are all professionals in finance, business, marketing, etc. It has an interdisciplinary course design, so it's me teaching business or economics with product design teacher and 2 arts teachers, so the students choose an art, film, or visual art. It takes 60 classroom hours, and the final result is a pitch to 55 classmates, staff, and the parent judge panel. What I learned is that this unit is supported by brain science through its embedded risk-taking and developing critical skills. So first of all, Steinberg writes that adolescent reward centers are stimulated by both new experiences and risks. So the unit's great because it is a new experience for students, being their first exposure to business. These are 9th grade students, so they haven't studied it before, and it's a really exciting way of delving into the world of business. Secondly, the final result of a pitch is a really big ask of students, and it's a huge risk for them because it's so new and there's so many audience members. But it's a safe risk because it's supported by adults and we're all in it together. It's a very positive environment. We scaffold it and there's lots of positive feedback. In terms of developing critical skills, it's a project-based unit, so students apply knowledge in meaningful ways, not just passively learning, which Steinberg recommends. And through this unit, they build determination, perseverance, and tenacity, which are 3 characteristics that Steinberg strongly recommends we work with students on. The way they do this is the students are constantly revising products based on constructive feedback. So we have a feedback loop embedded into the unit in all 3 disciplines. And students get a chance to fail forward. It would be easier for students not to change their products based on the feedback, but because there's a prize at the end, they're motivated to do it. And in this way, they have to be determined, they have to persevere, and tenacity wins. They also develop group skills. Teamwork begins on day 1. They negotiate and collaborate to build their product, and they truly form these wonderful friendships by the end of the unit. And that's backed by our textbook authors who say risk-taking experiences provide adolescents with storylines to connect themselves to others. And that's one thing that you really see them do in this unit. Another way that brain plasticity affects my interactions with students is through a discipline structure. So this year we had a new administration at my school and they implemented some new discipline policies and procedures that hadn't been done before. And I have always thought that our school has a rather lenient discipline policy. So I was interested in learning how the brain plasticity supports that and how I can go further now that I know a little bit more about it. So Steinberg gave us some brain-based advice on discipline. First, he says, we learn how to regulate ourselves by being regulated. This was great for me to see because with the extent to which our administration can be lenient with students, they did like in-house suspensions and the students were making ramen in the office during this time. They're missing out on class, they're enjoying their ramen, and it was kind of like, what's the purpose here? So it's important for teachers to step in and intervene. Even if we're going to be lenient in our policies, we still need to provide some structure and help them to understand how to act. Steinberg goes further and says, protect when you must, but permit when you can. And he says to judge based on whether the activity is dangerous, unhealthy, illegal, unethical, or likely to close some doors that are better left open. In doing this, he recommends that we take an authoritative approach, being warm, firm, and supportive with our students. Because of heightened sensations in the brain's reward center, Steinberg also talks about how rewards work better than punishment, and he recommends avoiding harsh punishment altogether. Our textbook authors go back to this when they say harsh punishments may force us to miss out on opportunities to positively co-author their development. So if adolescence is a time of growth, then we should focus on growth even in our discipline structures. Finally, brain plasticity helped me to understand the importance of building positive relationships and how to do it. This is something that I've heard about, learned about, read about, and used and understood as a teacher before, but now I'm getting deeper into the why and the how. The two ways that as a classroom teacher I can really affect students' positive environments are through the growth mindset and building self-regulation. So we remember the growth mindset through Carol Dweck. She talks about stretching knowledge through challenge and how seeking challenge and not being afraid of it is part of being in the growth mindset. So as I mentioned, I teach students their first exposures to business and economics, and my school also uses other learning platforms that are students' first exposures to different things. So students with us are constantly challenged, and novelty appeals to their brain development. But while we expose them to all these new thoughts, ideas, and experiences, our methods and approaches can help them to determine their future adaptability to these areas. If we take a positive approach and we help them to understand that failing is okay, and that by trying once, they'll be better able to try again, that is going to seep in a much different way than letting them fail and walking away from it as a failure. Steinberg writes about this in terms of the brain itself, and he says that plasticity begets plasticity, meaning that by creating certain brain connections during particularly malleable parts of time, people may be able to continue building on those connections and reap the benefits of adolescent brain plasticity far into the future. So if they learn something in a particularly plastic period of time, it means that they're better able to build on that later. So the first time is just the first time. How do we use this in the classroom? Well, I think we're from Dweck as well, that praising effort over outcome is a big step towards a growth mindset. Just teaching students that trying and keeping trying and persevering is going to be better than whatever comes out at the end, because you can always try again. And also, Steinberg talks about the importance of scaffolding, which again, ways educators are aware of. In terms of building self-regulation, Steinberg really emphasizes the importance of self-regulation for students, saying that thriving during adolescence depends above all on developing strong self-control. So how do we do that? Number one, the positive environment actually helps to do that. Stress and fatigue reduce self-regulation among teenagers, but a positive environment can minimize the stress and fatigue. So if we make it less stressful, less tiring, more engaging, more interesting, more fun, exciting, a competition, then they don't need to have that stress affecting their self-control. Also, he writes that reducing unsupervised and unstructured time with peers can help them to regulate themselves better. And adolescents actually make better decisions when they're isolated from their peers. A final little critique here. Steinberg notes that several neuroscientists agree about the possibility of increased brain plasticity during adolescence, but he acknowledges the lack of direct evidence to prove that the brain is in fact more plastic in adolescence than in middle childhood. So it's only a theory. So it's a great theory, but it's something we need to watch out for and see if there's going to be new literature to support or disprove it. The next steps for me are just, I'm interested in reviewing Flourish, which is Martin Seligman's book on positive psychology, and Mindset by Carol Dweck, to look for connections to brain plasticity and see how I can implement that into sort of my overall educational perspective. Thank you for watching.